There's a famous old adage that says, be careful what you wish for. There's another adage, slightly less famous, that says, always enunciate clearly. This is the story of someone who ignored both of them at once. William Pigeon, aged 27, always enjoyed visiting antique stores, and on one such visit he ran across an old-looking lamp with a blemish on the side. So he picked it up and rubbed at the blemish, when suddenly, whoosh! There standing in front of him was a genie, blinking in delight and wishing he'd done something about that stupid blemish years ago. Well, the genie offered William the 3 obligatory wishes, and immediately William wished for the obvious thing, an infinite number of wishes. That never works in real life. In fact, under the rules of the Genie's Union, that kind of stunt incurs a 3-wish penalty. A 2-wish penalty. So William was down to his last wish. So after some more careful consideration, he decided he wanted to become an oil magnate, and that's what he told the Genie. The Genie looked puzzled and asked if he was sure. William said yes. The Genie said he could do it, but it would take a while for the full effect to come on. Well, to William, this sounded like the Genie was trying to wiggle out of his promise, but there was nothing he could do about it. He didn't even have enough money to buy the lamp, so he went on about his business. A few weeks later, he happened to be in the grocery store to buy some salad oil, and as he reached up to pick a bottle off the shelf, suddenly, zip! The bottle jumped into his hand from a couple inches away. Well, he thought this was odd. He tried it again on a couple other bottles, and the same thing happened. He wondered if he was on candid camera. Well, he didn't really know what was going on, but he figured that if nothing else, it would be an amusing trick to show his friends. He was somewhat less amused a few weeks later when he was walking through the grocery store again, and he noticed that the bottles of oil were starting to fall off the shelves as he passed. Well, at this point, he knew he was in a mess, and not just because of the broken bottles of oil. Needless to say, the grocery store wasn't amused either. So William decided he needed to buckle down and figure out what was going on. He asked his doctors, the doctors didn't know. He went online to look, but there was nothing there for him. Finally, in speaking with some relatives from a different part of the country, the truth came out. You see, William had a bit of an accent. And so when William had told the Genie he wanted to become an oil magnate, he did not say, I wish to become an oil magnate. What he really said was, I wish to become an oil magnet. Oh dear. Well, naturally, William tried to go back to find the Genie to fix the mistake, but it was too late. The lamp had already been sold to someone who had recently become very wealthy and prominent in the petroleum industry. Who, by the way, had wonderful enunciation. Meanwhile, things were going from bad to worse for William. Bottles of oil weren't just falling off the shelves behind him, they were leaping lemming-like out to meet him as he approached. Trips to places like AutoZone likewise became infeasible. And as for that visit to KFC, at this point, the University of Punxsutawney's College of Deferred Explanations came into the picture. If you're wondering how they got the name College of Deferred Explanations, we can't get into that right now. But they'd seen William's story in the news and made a deal with him such that they would try to figure out what was going on. They would get exclusive rights to study his phenomenon, and in return they would either cure him or at least find a way to translate this thing into gainful employment. Well, they studied it but couldn't make any progress. They couldn't cure him either, but in terms of career counseling, they hit it out of the ballpark on the second attempt. After a brief but very disturbing career in liposuction, they hit on the idea of environmental remediation. Well, obviously, if you're dealing with an oil slick, it's a lot of trouble to go out and clean up the soil and decontaminate it and dispose of it. It's a lot easier just to put William in the middle of it and let the oil come to him. And this idea was so successful that between this and his side job boosting the productivity of marginal wells, that he was able to make a lot of money, start an enormous collection of antique lamps and bottles, marry a speech pathologist, and thanks to the advent of online grocery shopping, live pretty much happily ever after. Now, it's worth asking if William ever became an oil magnate in the usual sense of the word. But remember, being an oil magnate isn't just about being extremely wealthy, it's also about being prominent or outstanding in a field. And with William's job, he was outstanding in lots of fields. Outstanding in the fields, outstanding along the railroad tracks, outstanding in the stream bed. And so we see that it is possible to end up in a good spot in life, even if it's not the spot you set out for. Or as the old adage says, oil's well that ends well.